Worship Associate Maureen Daly, wishing you a beautiful Sunday here in the sanctuary or wherever you may be finding us. We invite those who are Zooming or streaming into this service to light a chalice or candle at home, as Zena lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. As we come together this morning, let us acknowledge and reflect on February as Black History Month. In the words of writer and speaker Dante Stewart, Black History Month is not simply asking, how can I remember and learn about Black people? It is all of us asking, how can we love Black people by seeing them, hearing them, and creating a world where Black people feel loved, inspired, and protected. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Zach. You probably already knew that. Filling in for Carolyn. Today's hymn, number 116, is I'm on my way. If you feel like, if you're inspired, I welcome you to sing the echo parts of the hymn. And I invite you all to rise in body or in spirit and join me in I'm on my way.
I'd like to invite, oh, they're already here. All of our young folks, or those young at heart, to come forward and join me in the time for the child in all of us. Good morning. This is a book called The Rough Patch by Brian Lies. He writes the story, and he also made the pictures, and the pictures tell a lot of the story. The Rough Patch. Evan and his dog did everything together. They played games, and enjoyed sweet treats. They shared music and adventure. They were together all through the day and through all the seasons. But what they loved the most was working in Evan's magnificent garden. There, everything they planted grew as big and as beautiful as the sky above them. But one day, the unthinkable happened. Evan laid his dog to rest in a corner of the garden. He had to bury his friend. And nothing was the same. Evan shut himself away inside. Without his best friend, the garden was a bitter and lonely place. One morning, he found himself with a hoe in his paws. Swinging angrily, he slashed the garden to the ground. He hacked it all to bits and threw everything into a heap. But a good place won't stay empty for long. Now, new plants sprouted and stretched toward the sky. Weeds, itchy ones, spiky and prickly ones, foul-smelling ones. These weeds suited Evan just fine, so he took care of them. If Evan's garden couldn't be a happy place, then it was going to be the saddest and most desolate spot he could make it. And soon it was. When Evan found a pumpkin vine sneaking in under the fence, he raised his hoe to chop it. But then he considered its prickly stems, fuzzy leaves, and spidery, twisty tendrils. He let it be. As the pumpkin vine grew, Evan cleared the weeds from its path and watered it. The vine responded to his care. It's so big. Around the time the evening air began to cool, Evan felt an odd, familiar sense of excitement. It was Fair Week. He loaded up the pumpkin and drove to town. He took care of important fair business. You see him there on the rides, playing the games, and gobbled down some delicious fair food. He caught up with some friends, too. It felt good to be out again, even if it wasn't quite the same. Evan's pumpkin won 3rd place. Prize is $10, or one of the pups in that box, the judge said. I'll take the 10, said Evan. But as he claimed his prize, he heard a scrabbling sound inside the box and thought it wouldn't hurt to just look. The end. Or is it the beginning? Right? A new beginning. Okay. Let's sing our children out to RE. If you will rise and face the center aisle and form a bridge of love for our children to pass under. If you're new, just follow along.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. That's what you will be voting on today after the service. Those at home have two ways to give: through the link posted in the chat or by texting from your phone at 844-901-1779. Folks who are present here in the sanctuary can text to give, or you can still write a check or give cash and then drop it in the basket that's at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to our own Lift Up Your Voice to End Homelessness Moving In Ministry, to provide the furniture and household goods that turn an empty apartment into a home for people moving out of homelessness and into their very own place at last. As of January 1, Moving In had helped furnish 445 homes for 722 people. And those numbers increase day by day. Just last Friday, our amazing Moving In volunteers served 3 households: a veteran and his wife, a single man, and a family of 6. That family of 6 had been living at the Spirit of Santa Paula shelter and were finally getting housed. Kathy Powell, who directs this program, reports, "What fun it was to pick out furniture with them. Even though they didn't speak English, we shared so much joy as Mom, Dad, and the young son picked out a dining table, chairs, dressers, and everything for the kitchen. The son found a rocking chair just his size. He moved it to the U-Haul and just sat there rocking and rocking and rocking contentedly. I was grateful," Kathy says, "that I knew enough Spanish to reply de nada when he waved and said gracias as they drove away." Donations like this one today make it all possible. Thanks for giving generously, as you always do. Grateful, as always, for the generosity of this congregation, which weaves together a tapestry of love and hope we call community.
Now is the time in the service when we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts, making ripples that are felt throughout our community. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or a link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV This Week. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this community. Zena will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
I invite you all to remain seated as we all sing number 168, One More Step. One more step, we will take one more step till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll take one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Our reading for today is Blessing by John O'Donohue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, and green, and azure blue, come to awaken you in a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so, may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life.
You now into a time of meditation. Place your feet upon the floor if you are comfortable doing so. Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe. Let your breath fall into a natural rhythm. Take one more breath. Think of one more word, or hum one more song in your mind, and feel you are wrapped in an invisible cloak of love. A silent meditation.
Can you hear me okay? Oh, there we go. Good morning. I'm Minister Lorrie Brown, and I have no idea who Zena was talking about today. Just to give you a little bit of what I do now, I work for Whole Person Care with the county of Ventura, and that program helps provide wraparound services to homeless individuals in the county. But what I do know is that this church has been in the trenches long before the county ever got involved, even thought about it, or even wanted to. I'm honored to be here during Black History Month and the month of my birthday. I, I thought it fitting to share a message of hope, share my experience growing up here in Ventura as I sought to belong, and share my message of victory over struggle. This message is for everyone, for anyone who has ever felt they did not fit in, have lost hope, felt left out, felt lost, unlucky, unloved, and underappreciated. I just want to say thank you to Pastor Warsnop for inviting me and considering it not robbery to allow me to come stand before you today to be a part of your morning service. And I also want to thank Zena for being in the background and helped me get ready for the service. And she reminded me this morning of the African American tradition of call and response. That means I say something and then you respond and say yes, or amen, or that's great, or I agree. And I just welcome and encourage you guys doing that today. As I walked in today, I also could appreciate the welcoming words, open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. I know or have known of many of you in this room, and this church has been in the trenches, as I said, doing the work, fighting the good fight, and living up to those words. And if no one else has told you in this community, I say thank you today. And I just want to say, he can play that piano, can't he? Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. And this is the best part. As I minister to you, oh, I minister to myself. Life can hurt you so till you feel there's nothing left. Oh, no matter how you feel, speak the word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Amen. The title of this message, as you know, is Encourage Yourself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My family was one of a handful of African American families on the east side of Ventura in the late 70s with the Mathises, the Duncans, and the Qualls. My dad purchased our home with his VA loan after serving 3 years in Vietnam and worked for Union 76. As you know, this is an oil town, while my mom completed her nursing program at Ventura College. My mother named me Lorrie, after Loretta, the wonderful woman who was my mother's classmate and good friend. Loretta helped deliver me because my dad couldn't stand to see my mother in pain. I was born at Community Memorial Hospital in the year of 1974. My family was surrounded by a community that gave us support. Our neighbors helped my mother get through school and work. Claudia was one of those people. She had a son the same year my mother had me. And as an infant, she was my babysitter, and she fed me as if she was my own mother. Shan was on this side getting fed, and I was on the other. When I got older, my first best friend was Stephen. And every time I went to his house to play, I remember his mother yelling through the back screen door, "Go around the side," because Stephen was in the backyard, and I was forbidden to enter their house. I never met her or ever saw her face. I just knew I was not welcome. One summer, they moved without saying goodbye, and I never saw him again. This was a rough patch. I immediately became fast friends with another in the neighborhood. We were best friends. You see the theme here? I had many friends growing up. Our property shared a backyard fence. We loved climbing trees and being mischievous. That's all I cared about. But one day she told me, "I can't play with you fill in the blank." I gave her a piece of my mind, and I never played with her again, but I knew she was desperate to belong with her new friends. This was a rough patch. I found another friend. I was one of 2 African-American children who attended Portola Elementary at that time in kindergarten. I recall my teacher, Mrs. Fluckinger, sitting alone during recess because nobody else would play with me. At 5, I told myself they didn't know any better. By the time I was in 5th grade, I had friends like Chad Schroeder, who would always break dance during recess. I loved my 5th grade teacher. Her name was Bunny. She had every kind of animal in her classroom. My brother was 2 years behind me in Mr. Parmigiano's class. I think that's what his name was. One day, that teacher slapped my brother in his face so hard it left an imprint. Things were great until they weren't. My mom complained, it fell on deaf ears. My brother was forced to continue in the same class with the teacher who assaulted him, humiliated by the mark, despised by his teacher, abandoned by his school, left to face a giant alone. No one did anything about it. I later regretted taking his drill class after that. My brother learned to hate school. We knew we were unsafe, but in Bunny's class, I was very safe. Later, we dissected skunks as a lab assignment. And of course, a student inevitably punctured the sac of one of the skunks and stunk up the school for weeks. I like to believe that was payback. Bunny was a rebel. I hated I had to leave her class. But we have to move on. I was bused to Anacapa Middle School as a pre-adolescent, too old to be a child, too young to be a teenager. I found a group of friends, felt for the first time I belonged with a group of girls. I had the opportunity to be included. At the end of the school year, we all attended the school's annual field trip to the beach. And when we got back the next day, one of the girls walked up to me as I was approaching them, and she said, "You can't hang out with us anymore." This was a rough patch. In high school, I wasn't allowed to attend my prom because I wanted to go by myself. And they said, "You don't get to go by yourself. You have to have a partner." These are defining moments in our lives, in our childhoods, that sit with us for the rest of our lives. But we have the choice and the decision of how we will receive that and what our response will be. And I made a pact with myself that no matter how many rough patches I had in my life, I would wait for the wisdom, the lesson, and the message I was meant to tell. I did not want to give in to darkness. But in the meantime, I had friends that got me through. Not just any friends, but those who spoke wisdom and peace and joy over my life's most darkest moments. When we don't feel heard, when we don't feel seen, when we feel we don't belong, when we're on the outside and it seems that nobody understands, we isolate ourselves from people and things that bring us joy, and then we would decide we don't trust anyone, and we drown ourselves in negative thoughts. We feel unloved and forgotten and alone. Mental clickbait, I call it. We go down a rabbit hole of negative memes about ourselves that get darker and longer as we entertain them. Because we've been maybe abandoned, or maybe we've been rejected or criticized or hurt, or we welcome the pain. We start to begin or think that we deserve it. These stories are what I call a death of 1,000 cuts. I had no tears, only numbness. Grief is manifested in feelings of abandonment, like when my son left and my best friend left and my dog left. And sounds like a country song, doesn't it? I lost my group. I never felt safe. I was not like everyone else. I was left on the outside of things. But don't get me wrong, many of you have stories of loss way more traumatic, more devastating, and more painful than my own. I still have my parents, and got a good education, and went on to become a council member, right? Abandonment is a pain recorded in our brain that plays over and over again, that we just have to re-record and get past. This then can lead to chronic depression, reoccurring anxiety, and for some, the ending of our own lives. The U.S. Surgeon General calls mental health the defining crisis of our time. NBC News reported in December of 2023 that more than 50,000 Americans left this earth by their own hands, more than any year previously on record. And the California Department of Public Health reported that in the year of 2021, the county of Ventura had 278 instances of them, which was higher than all surrounding counties. I didn't look at Los Angeles, but the other ones. Very recently, someone told me they had planned an act of self-harm but did not execute it. They got in an argument about their academic future. They were told they would fail. They heard they were a failure. Let me say that again. They were told they would fail school, but they heard they were a failure. They were told they're not working fast enough, but they heard that they were not enough. This person could not function, get schoolwork done, sometimes did not shower, had plans but was unable to focus. They asked and pleaded for help, but their loved ones scoffed in disbelief. They were just told to snap out of it. This person cried for help. That help did not come. She did not understand her tears. She did not recognize her grief. No one tells you that your heart can drive you to do things that your mind can't just make sense of. So where can we find help? Where can we rest? I find rest in my place of worship, my church, much like this place. I was raised Baptist, of the Baptist faith, at Olivet Baptist Church on Anacapa Street in Ventura, where Reverend John L. Baylor was pastor. He taught me how to work in the community. This was one of the first black churches in the county, the second in the city of Ventura. It was located on Meter Street, way over there where Patagonia is now. Singing there gave my heart wings. Miss Milton was my inspiration. Worship was my joy. So no matter what I went through, I always had a place of belonging and somewhere to go. You can read about Olivet Baptist Church even at the Ventura Museum. According to county records, this church was located near an area once known as the Negro Quarters next to the tortilla flats. When I found out that I had ties to some of the first black peoples in Ventura, I no longer felt as if I was alone. And I finally felt that I belonged in this community as much as anyone else, no matter what anyone else said. And I need to say this. We are not always saved from trauma, right? We don't always get to escape it. We can't always cry out, as in that story that I told about the young woman. We don't always have someone that's going to swoop in and save us. Sometimes the trauma is there and it's happening and it's present, even today. And many times those experiences we carried from childhood and stay with us through every relationship, through our careers, and through our life. But what do we do about it? I encourage you today to write the law of hope across your hearts. And in moments of despair, lean not unto your own understanding, because that understanding may have been compromised with grief, disappointment, hurt. Try to reach out in hope. But what is hope? And hope is a substantial position that you can take when nothing else has worked, when you cannot fathom the outcome. It's your Hail Mary, the last straw, the belief that things will always work out when everything and everyone says the opposite. The thing we tend to do when we think we have nothing else to lose. But there's always something. So we find a sense of belonging in our daily lives, at home and at work and at church, like here. And to belong to God is to belong to others. The children of God belong to his family forever. We form one body and every member belongs to all the others. We belong to one another in these spaces. When we know we belong, we're encouraged. Belonging does not come by permission. It is found through purpose. And why is that? Because we are many parts of one, individual yet dependent, unique and so much alike. We want to be seen and heard and understood for our unique contributions, for our hard work, for our career accomplishments, to be connected to those we find meaning with, and to be proud of the values and purposes that our organizations stand for and what they do. Much like the UU Church, the UU Church does a lot. It means we're a part of that unifying mission, vision, objective. Without a vision, what are we? What happens without a vision, without a purpose, without a unifying purpose? We perish. Without purpose, we perish. We matter because we have purpose. Even in pain, we have purpose. We are humankind, and as humans, our greatest desire is to love and be loved, to know and be known, and to know someone is there in our joy and through our trouble. To belong is to be accepted and to feel secure. Maslow's theory established that belonging is one of the most important parts of our hierarchy of needs. We're not our own. We each have a calling to live in our individual purposes. I am one part, you are one part. We all have different functions, but we're all necessary. The problem is, what happens when we get in trouble and we kind of get knocked off of that purpose? When we're spiraling out of control and no one's around to press our reset button, what do? What do? We encourage ourselves. And I'm here this morning to ask you to encourage yourself. Encouraging yourself means focusing on your positive skills, strengths, and attributes, and not your weaknesses and limitations, to grasp at a future and a destiny that there is no proof exists, and to step into a path that is well paved. Elders used to tell me, and I think I heard somebody say it earlier today, be ye not weary in well-doing. Don't get tired. We will get tired, and I don't think it means when they say that we're not ever going to get tired. I think what they're saying is when you get tired, don't give up. Stay the course, even if it's hard. Giving up is easy. Keep going. Keep your head up. Talk to a friend. Friends can help us get through even when the ones we think we can depend on are simply unable to show up. But if you can't talk to a friend, talk to yourself. Daily affirmations, meditations, reading the word can help us record over the negative programming when trauma keeps us up at night with that recording over and over again. I've had trauma. I talked to God when I lost my son in 2022. I wasn't there when it happened, but I read all the police reports. I read all the interrogations of those who are now in jail, the criminals, the defendants, whatever you want to call them. And so my imagination went to the worst place, because I imagined I was there when he got shot and when he was laying on the side of the road because they stole his car from him and he resisted. And I was wondering, did he die alone? He didn't even know he was dying. What happens to his soul? What did he want when I prepared his funeral? Did I do it right? Is he there alone? Where is he? This trauma, imagining him, his face and his death. I was told, like, PTSD from having experienced, the death of my youngest son. But I encouraged myself because, one, I had a community like you all who prayed for me, who was there by my side, who helped pay the funeral expenses, who helped allow me to have peace that surpassed understanding. I knew I was called to a higher purpose, even in my pain, to make sure my other two boys who are surviving, still had their mother and still had someone to support them in their times of need. What are we if we're not there for those who need us the most? Even David, as I read in the Bible, the Old Testament, encouraged himself in the Lord when he was surrounded by the enemy when they were trying to figure out how to kill him. And what I suggest to you today is encourage yourself. You have to speak that victory as I sang in the song earlier. Develop your spiritual muscle so you may defend against the tricks of your mind. Your mind will tell you it's all your fault. Take you down to a guilt trip. You could have did this differently. Why wasn't it me instead of them? If I had just done this, or I should have did that. But I encourage you to say today, change your scenery. And if you can't do that, change your perspective. Go outside. And if you can't do that, go to a quiet place. Plan a trip. And if you can't do that, plan to visit someone who needs you. Watch a movie. And if you can't do that, watch the sunset. It's free. The Creator made provisions and left behind a reminder for those created, that is us, to give us perspective, to ground us, to give us peace, and provide us a means of escape. So I encourage you today, give yourself time. Give yourself grace. Give yourself patience. Give yourself kindness. Give yourself compassion. Give yourself understanding. Give yourself permission to forgive. And tell yourself, I am not a failure. I am enough. I am important. I am worthy of love. I am perfect just the way I am. And I have no reason to be ashamed. Remind yourself of what gratitude is. Say, thank you for your life. Thank you for your good health. Thank you for a sound mind. Say, thank you for the challenges that made you strong. Thank you for the food we have to eat. Thank you for the place we have to sleep. Thank you for the activity of our limbs. Thank you for the paycheck to spend. Thank you for the car to drive. And thank you for the friend to talk to. Thank you. I ask you, who is better than a friend? And in my faith, and we all have our faith, and I love that the UU Church is a combination of all of our faiths. And in my faith, that is Christ Jesus. And in your darkest moment, when you're at the bottom and you have no other option but to look up, encourage yourself in the spirit of the one who forsakes not anyone who calls his name. Encourage yourself in the Lord. And in my church, we sing and pray before and after delivering each message. And what I'll do is I'll combine the two of them together. And there's a prayer that's a song at the same time. We do an invitation and say, those of you who would like to join, right? Whatever it is that they want to join. And it's called the Lord's Prayer, and it goes like this. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yes, join me. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts Forgive our debtors, and lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Thank you so much. Sing that. Thank you so much for having me.
And now it's your turn as we all gather around and rise in body or in spirit and sing number 118, This Little Light of Mine. We'll be singing the first verse as the fourth verse as well, and we might sing it a few times.
Wow. Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
Okay, a quick reminder, everyone's invited after you leave the sanctuary to go into our community hall, Berg Hall over there, for coffee, tea, bagels, conversation, and all kinds of information in there. There's a connecting table, there's a welcome table. Check them all out, talk to each other. And those of you on Zoom, stick around because there's a computer with a monitor in that room, and people are going to stop by and talk to you guys who are on Zoom. So stick around, don't leave us. Remember to vote. Sue Brinkmeyer is going to be in there making sure you vote for our offering recipients. And at 11:30, Susan Franzblau will have her group. And Ryan Schumacher's with her on that, over there in that alcove, to discuss a book that they're reading together by Toni Morrison. Good stuff. So I leave you today with these words from Annie Forster. As far as our love flows, as far as our hope grows, as far as our yearning goes, we are no farther one from another. Go forth in peace, go forth in hope, go forth in love. Amen, and may it be so.